Welcome to Films and Stuff with your hosts, Pete Mitchell and Ethan Hunt.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Films and Stuff podcast. I'm Ethan, and I'm joined by my ever-present sidekick slash partner slash support friend, Pete. Pete, I'm running out of accolades. How are you today?
I am good, my excellent Ethan. How are you?
Thanks. I like the alliteration. We are here on a Saturday morning, which means it is our weekly stream or skip segment. We call it SOS for short. I introduce a segment. You introduce the rules. So without further ado, please, for new listeners and for old listeners who may have forgotten, rehash what are the rules of stream or skip.
Absolutely. All right. Ethan and I have prepared random lists of TV shows for each other to watch. Every week, we assign each other one of those shows. We watch at least 2 episodes or 30 minutes if that is a feature-length program. And on that basis, we determine if that show is worthy of being streamed or skipped.
That's right. And to put it in perspective, since we're still in the early stages of 2025, I started the year on a cold streak. I was like the proverbial gambler in Vegas, just hitting bust every time. Not a lot of great diamonds in the rough or any diamonds whatsoever. But last week we had a must subscribe, Paradise on Disney Plus / Hulu.
Yeah.
And this week I was assigned something called Your Friends and Neighbors.
Yeah.
Which sounds a little bit like a Mr. Rogers childhood show, but it's actually John Hamm, Apple TV Plus. Spoiler alert, I have given it a must subscribe, and I think you watched it as well, and you concur. Is that right?
Double spoiler alert, I have as well.
All right. Let's rehash what Your Friends and Neighbors is all about. It is John Hamm at his peak swarmiest. And I don't know if you remember, but about a year ago, maybe more, there was a Apple TV Plus commercial with John Hamm. And the commercial was basically every show or everything you want to see, it's all on Apple TV Plus.
Right.
And John Hamm was like sitting on his sofa, like flipping through, and he was like, Tom Hanks. And he was like just listing all the A-list. He's like, DiCaprio, Van Damme, Clooney, Pitt, and he was just going one by one, like listing all like the actors. And he's like, no John Hamm. Like it was his own kind of like meta running joke that like none of his shows or movies were on there, right? And then you heard him kind of like leaving voicemail messages like for Apple saying, hey, call and seeing if you want to do a show together, you want to do some collaboration. It was a very, very funny, like Apple TV Plus commercial at the time. Since then, he was on the latest season of The Morning Show across from Jennifer Aniston, right? Her love interest. And now he's got his own lead in the show, Your Friends and Neighbors. The plot is that he is somehow living in like an upstate New York, very wealthy enclave populated by kind of the bankers, fund managers, whomever else, restaurateurs, other wealthy entrepreneurs. He's kind of living, that life where everyone is members of the same golf club and tennis club. And, they play together and live together and so on and so forth. He, out of the blue, loses his job at some type of financial firm. He seems to be like a stock trader. And this sets off a dramatic series of events and a minor, let's say, existential crisis where he has gone from someone who was recently divorced. Amanda Peet is his ex-wife. So he was already a little bit, let's say, down in the dumps where he kind of, was estranged from his son and daughter. He had an ex-wife now who was, living, I guess, with someone who was formerly one of his very good friends. He was already a little bit ostracized from, his kind of perfect community. And then when he is fired out of the blue from his job everything just kind of crashes down on him all at once. And it focuses very much on, even though he's seemingly quite wealthy, it focuses a lot on all the kind of like financial burdens that he has. It shows how he's supporting his sister. All of his kids have some very expensive hobbies. He's still supporting his wife, which to be honest doesn't really make a lot of sense in the context of the narrative, but whatever. Everything is, an expense and expense and expense. When he has this very high profile, high paying job, all of that is kind of par for the course. When he suddenly loses his job and seemingly kind of all the wealth that he's accumulated there, like he's a little bit financially unprepared for all of this. So what he finds kind of, I guess he just kind of like walks into it, not walks into it. He backs into it, is he finds that there is a lot of opportunity for him to engage in like petty theft.
Yeah. Although maybe not so petty, right?
Maybe not so petty. Petty in the sense that he's not like doing smash and grabs.
Yeah.
Petty in the sense that he's doing very surgical, roaming around, pocketing an expensive watch, an expensive piece of jewelry,
fancy bottle of wine for $30,000. Yeah.
And he's starting to realize that given, his social standing, given, the relative safety and seclusion of this neighborhood, provided that he's not like busting in windows and vandalizing things, if he's just kind of sneaking in, putting something in his pocket, sneaking out, his perception is no one is the wiser, no one's missing these things. And it's kind of a no harm, no foul, no one's being hurt type of thing. We're starting to see, only 3 episodes have been released. We're starting to see that this is, in a way, I guess, formulating to maybe potentially catch up to him. But as of yet, he does not seem to have been stopped or deterred. And he's starting also very slowly, right? I mean, he's not going in with like the old Santa bag and like filling it up. He's literally just kind of putting one thing in his pocket of his hoodie and walking right out again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is a narrative of Your Friends and Neighbors. The theft angle is kind of you think that it's going to be the A plot, but in a way it's kind of the B plot, where this show is more about, it seems to be some type of commentary on, all of the people, which is why it's called Your Friends and Neighbors, and kind of like the insulated lives that they need, and why perhaps these trinkets of value are kind of like a substitute for them, for, really being fulfilled and happy. And it seems to be kind of going down that path where John Hamm is a character who does a lot of voiceovers, by the way.
Yeah.
Seems to be realizing that what he thought was really important, the aggregation of golf clubs and bottles of scotch and watches and artwork, is actually probably a little bit more meaningless in the great scheme of things, and doesn't really fulfill the way that, having a good relationship with, your kids does, or your wife. And he seems to be kind of like this now emotional outsider, where he's still kind of like at events as though nothing has changed. And he doesn't seem to be treated any different from his friends and neighbors. But he seems to be kind of like now viewing himself as a little bit of an outsider, seeing things through like a different lens, and maybe questioning like the bigger existential picture, which is, what are we doing here? What's really important? What is value? What is...
Yeah, I think it's like that moment where the child in the emperor's clothes, or the new clothes, kind of sees that everyone else is naked, right? There's a bunch of these 40, 50, 60-year-old men, and they're quote-unquote trophy wives living in this very fancy community. And all they talk about is like how they make their millions of dollars, how their wives spend millions of dollars, and how they're kind of collecting scotch bottles. And that's kind of like, this is my life now. Like, I've got nothing else to life except for this.
Ham's character, right, Coop, is also, I guess, has a different view, because while he is like breaking into these houses, And when we say breaking in, he's really just finding like unlocked doors, right?
Yeah.
He's actually, I would say, seeing people's lives in a different way as well, right? So, for example, I mean, he sees, someone's spouse, cheating on them, right? He's seeing, like different things, I guess, within these private lives that's causing him to kind of view the community different as well. So it's not just that emotionally he's opened his eyes, like physically he's kind of seen some things and said, wait, maybe not everything is as it seems that I thought it was.
Yeah.
And then his ex-wife, Amanda Peet, also seems to be going through her own thing. And I think you're starting to see as well, like her unhappiness and what kind of led to her divorce of John Hamm's character as well, right? She seems to be also a little bit of a focus and, going through her own thing. And I think we're starting to see a bigger picture of exactly, where her unhappiness was in all of this, which begs the question, do we think there's going to be a reunion of
I
these
think
two?
so. And in fact, here's my prediction for the rest of the season. I think not only is there going to be a reunion, I think she's going to break bad too, and I think she's going to help him.
Actually, there's a lot of White Lotus into this, right? Because the opening scene of the series, I guess it would be a flashback, right?
Yeah.
Or a flash forward or something. And we see Ham has gotten himself into a predicament, right? So obviously things are going to take some turn for the worse one way or another, right? So is this kind of like the breaking point where, his wife gets involved and he's going to seek her out for help, or we're not entirely sure, but definitely things have escalated one way or another based on that opening scene, huh?
Yeah.
I agree. It would be interesting to see how long this show carries on. Right now, I think it's absolutely a must subscribe. I mean, primarily because of Ham's character, and I'm really intrigued by kind of a lot of the community drama. But is this like a Breaking Bad 3-season show, do you think? Like, can this premise carry it for 3 seasons?
I don't think so. I think that at some point, I think it's got to catch up with him by the end of the season, right?
Yeah.
Because we're starting to see that already. Spoiler alert, like the police have been called in.
Yeah.
They're not taking it seriously, but I imagine after 1 or 2 more of these reports, they're going to start taking it seriously. And it won't take them long to put 2 and 2 together that it's clearly someone from inside the community. The good thing I like about the show right now is that it's still unclear where the show is going.
Yeah.
As with most of these kinds of shows, I'm not loving that element of the kids.
I have to say, I'm usually one of the bigger anti-kid fans. I think that these kids are not so horrible. I don't know why that is, but until you pointed that out, I have to say I didn't really have a kid issue.
Okay.
But maybe it's because they've stayed more in the background than usual, or maybe they're just a little bit more likable, or maybe I'm just a little bit more sympathetic to them. But I found that I love the cast, by the way. Amanda Peet, Olivia Munn. I really, really like this entire cast. Like there's no one who I think is like particularly obnoxious or unlikable, but I think that they could do, if they really want this to be a multi-series, it would be good to open it up a little bit and to get to know some of the characters much better, because right now we're really limited to Ham, ex-wife, current kind of girlfriend, financial advisor. Like it's a small world. They need to open it up a little bit. We haven't even seen Lou kind of for an episode, right? Lou would be a good character to add a little bit more to.
Sure.
So that is Apple TV Plus, Your Friends and Neighbors, starring John Hamm. 3 episodes are out on Apple TV Plus. I think it's a must subscribe. Pete thinks it's a must subscribe. Definitely check it out. It's well worth watching.
Absolutely.
Okay. Without further ado, let's jump into what you were assigned this week, my friend.
So I was originally assigned Inside Man with Ted Danson on Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
However, we pulled an audible because the show I watched was the show you were originally assigned.
That's right.
On Paramount Plus, called MobLand.
Yes, I could not get MobLand on Paramount Plus for localization reasons that we won't go into. But yes, so you took over MobLand, which, to be honest, I initially positioned as a favor, but I think actually it worked out to your benefit.
Actually, it did work out because, spoiler alert, MobLand must subscribe.
Wow, 2 in a week.
Yeah, not just 2 in a week, 2 simultaneously in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's right. 4 in a row.
MobLand is, as the name would imply, a show about the mafia, but not the mafia that we think of. When we think of the mafia, we really think about like Italian-American, Scorsese style, Joe Pesci, Ray Liotta, Goodfellas. You know, that's the mafia that everyone kind of thinks
Sopranos.
of. The Sopranos, exactly. This is not the mafia per se, although it is the mafia, but it's a gang in London. It's about 2 gangs in London. Okay, so let me start off with what I think is going to be an immediate hook for you, directed by Guy Ritchie.
Oh, I'm in.
Yeah, see? Exactly.
Rock and rolla. So, I'm in.
Unlike other Guy Ritchie shows, however, this is much more drama heavy and less comedy.
Okay.
But there are definitely elements of Guy Ritchie's sense of humor in there, even though, again, it is much more drama focused because he's more of a director and less of a writer in these shows.
Okay.
The premise is that there are 2 warring, let's say, gang families in London.
Okay.
The one is called the Stevenson family, and the other is called the Harrigan family. And like your classic story, they do not get along at all. There's an uneasy peace between them, but they kind of stay out of each other's hair. So the Stevensons are involved in fentanyl, and the Harrigans are involved in other forms of illicit drugs and crime and so forth.
Okay.
Yeah. Tom Hardy is the main character in the show, and he plays a fixer. He's not a Harrigan, he's not a Stevenson, but he works for the Harrigan family.
Okay.
But he's widely respected amongst the London underground as a guy, even though he's associated with the Harrigans and even though he works for them, as a relatively neutral fixer. So he's got a lot of respect, and people give him time. So what they'll say is, like, if there's a problem, he's the first to come because they know that he's genuinely an impartial, or a relatively impartial, and more importantly, a level-headed fixer. He's not going to go in there guns blazing.
How does he get paid?
He gets paid by the Harrigan family.
Okay.
Yeah, so generally speaking, he gets called in on behalf of the Harrigans.
Okay.
The opening scene, or one of the opening scenes, is you find out that there's 2 gangs that are fighting with each other, and he's been brought in to kind of bring the peace.
Okay.
And he's trying to negotiate the peace with them. He said, what can we do to make sure that you both shake hands and apologize? And they both say, we'll shake hands with each other, but there's nowhere we're going to apologize.
Mm.
And then he goes back upstairs. You find out that they're in a very fancy West End London restaurant. The restaurant is shut down, and the head of the Harrigan family is there. And who's the head of the Harrigan family? Pierce Brosnan.
Pierce Brosnan.
What a great cast.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and Pierce Brosnan's wife? Helen Mirren.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Dame Helen Mirren.
Fantastic cast. It's a really good cast. So he asks him for his advice. He says, do you think this peace will last, right? Because they're ready to shake hands, but they won't apologize. And he says, what's going to happen is that 6 months from now, we're going to be back to exactly the same position. And he says, all right, well, then you have my blessing to fix the problem.
Okay.
And you're just like, oh, okay, what's he going to do to fix the problem? He goes down there, and both of the gangs are killed.
He kills them all.
He kills them all.
Okay.
He basically then has the Harrigan family assume both of their businesses.
Okay.
That's the kind of guy he is. He gives everyone a genuine shot.
Yep.
But if it's not going to work out, he then fixes things the way a mobster would fix things.
All right.
So it's a really, really high-end drama. Think of any Guy Ritchie London-based drama, but without that beat-to-beat sense of humor.
How many episodes are out?
3 episodes are out.
Okay.
The main premise of the season going forward, this is kind of like Romeo and Juliet. The grandson of the Harrigans goes out on a night on the town with the grandson of the Stevensons as buddies.
Okay.
During the course of the night, things get a little bit hairy, things get a little bit crazy, and the grandson of the Stevensons goes missing.
Oh.
And so everyone assumes that the grandson of Harrigan's killed him, and that sets up the war for the rest of this.
Without spoilers, do we know if the Harrigan dude was responsible for it, or is it left unsaid?
You find out.
Okay.
I'm leaving it unsaid because I think this is a show you're going to love.
Okay.
And one way or another, we will bypass your region restrictions.
Yep.
And you will watch it.
Oh, that's great. Can we say that Paramount Plus, which I think was a little bit late to the streaming game, right? If you think of like the OGs of streaming, it's Netflix,
Yeah.
Apple TV Plus.
Well, in fact, Apple TV is the most recent one, but yeah.
Amazon, right?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe Paramount and Peacock were like a little bit earlier than we.
But the difference was they were the least capitalized.
Yeah.
So Apple, what they did successfully, which is I think what you're alluding to, is they made a bigger splash in the market.
Yes.
Remember, Paramount, we used to joke, was basically supported by either Star Trek or by Yellowstone.
I mean, I remember when it was only kind of Star Trek, and I'm
Yeah.
like, what else is on
Exactly.
Paramount? And then they got Yellowstone, and then they kind of became Taylor Sheridan Universe.
The Taylor Sheridan Universe. Exactly.
Linus and a pretty solid lineup. I mean, a lineup that actually now I think we could probably stack up against Apple TV Plus, definitely against Amazon. When's the last time we watched anything on Amazon?
Citadel, Honey Bunny. Bang.
Is there anything else on Amazon now?
Not right now. There's Jack Reacher, Invincible. There's a couple of things, but again, I think that what your point is right is nothing that's really made a splash the way some of these other shows have.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the shows that Amazon has made splashes on have been colossal failures. Citadel, failure.
Yep.
Lord of the Rings,
Yes.
failure. You know what I mean? Like all of the ones they've made big splashes on, like $200 million, $1.5 billion, all of them. Amazon has definitely tried.
Yeah.
But everything they've spent big money on has been a colossal failure for them.
And Netflix, I feel like is,
Netflix is your bread and butter streaming platform. It's the most variety.
I go to Netflix, I want to say every day, periodically every week.
Yeah.
And I'm always kind of like, I'll say like when I do it, it's kind of like you've had a long day, and I'm the kind of guy who like sits at the dining room table with my laptop.
Yeah.
And like I'm just, like eating, right? I'm like, okay, I just want to watch something while I'm eating. And I'll go to Netflix on my laptop, and I'll be like done with my meal. By the time I'm flipping through potential shows, I'm like, not really. I'll give this a try. And I end up like being done with my meal, and I haven't found like anything on Netflix that I'm even like compelled to watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of stuff. But I can't tell you anything on Netflix that is new or that I really want to see right now.
Yeah.
I have to give Paramount Plus, not just Taylor Sheridan, but this sounds also very promising.
I mean, the casting is fantastic. The set design and the location design, it feels like you're watching a movie. It's proper London, pretty good. I'm loving it. Like the premise is just so. It's 2 warring families, right?
Yeah.
Because somebody's made a mistake somewhere.
Yeah.
And the family dynamics on the Harrigan side are pretty interesting, right? Because you've got Pierce Brosnan, who's the godfather. You've got his wife, who's kind of also pulling strings, sometimes to the detriment of the family, because for her, family's the most important. But like, what's important is also performance. When you're talking about a gang business, right? Performance is also important. So like Pierce Brosnan has one family member. He's got a daughter who's like an illegitimate daughter that he had from an affair, but he considers her his daughter. And Helen Mirren doesn't. So there's a lot of conflict there, although she's really making an effort and she's a really smart one. And their genuine son has really fudged things up in the past. But Helen Mirren kind of overlooks that because he's biologically theirs 100%. You know what I mean? Like
What
that.
you're describing kind of makes me think a little bit of what we saw with the family in The Penguin.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So we've got to see MobLand. I've got to see MobLand on Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
And that means we have, as we pointed out, have had 2 consecutive weeks. Last week we had Paradise and The Studio.
Yeah.
Must subscribe, must subscribe. This week we had Your Friends and Neighbors and MobLand. Must subscribe, must subscribe. Do you think we can keep it going for a 3rd week in a row?
I think you can. I'm more skeptical.
Yeah.
I'm not skeptical because I think it's a bad show. I'm skeptical because it's on Netflix. I am watching a show called Running Point.
Yep. It's based on the Los Angeles Lakers.
Ah,
Not even like lightly. The executive producer is Jeannie Buss, who, as you know, is the owner of the Lakers.
right.
So that is yours. I have Dope Thief.
Yeah, that's right. On Apple TV Plus, I am highly excited. I think this is going to be a fantastic show.
So what I understand about Dope Thief is that, do you remember The Wire
Yeah,
and the character Omar?
yeah.
Omar's profession, shall we say, was he was not just a thief, but he would thieve from like drug dealers, right? Like his thing was to break into like crack houses, or I don't know what the word is, but he would break into places and he would actually steal from the drug dealers themselves. That was his thing. And I understand that Dope Thief is the same premise, where these guys are basically also targeting like small time drug dealers. And apparently they bite off more than they can chew, where they apparently think that they are stealing from small time drug dealers, but either they're bigger or the cartel or something directly, and then chaos ensues.
Yes, exactly.
So that's on Apple TV Plus. Cinema wise, you and I historically went to a lot of cinema.
Yeah.
There is nothing out. Am I making this up?
No. I mean, look, it's not that there's nothing out, but I think there's nothing of huge interest out.
Yeah.
So there's been a couple of movies, like Minecraft is doing incredibly well, but I don't think that's up your alley.
Is it up your alley?
Kinda, but only because I played the game. But even then, like, I don't think it's going to be that strong for me.
I have played Minecraft, by the way.
Oh, okay.
And I find it intoxicatingly relaxing.
Yeah.
To the extent that I love the music. I could absolutely play Minecraft for 2 hours. My complaint about Minecraft is twofold. One, at the end, I've just wasted 2 hours of my life and it's gone, you know? And 2, for Minecraft, I feel like whenever I try to build something, I'm first like fascinated by like building like the foundation. And I start like, okay, like I'm digging trees and I'm trying to get everything at the same level. And then I hit water. And then like I end up that 2 hours, I don't actually build upwards. I'm just spending the whole time like getting my foundation in place and fixing water leaks and like stuff like that. And then at the end, I'm like, oh my God, I've been here for 2 hours and all I've done is created this big hole with water pouring into everything, you know?
Yeah.
But in terms of being relaxing and enjoying it, if I could just like stop time, the world stopped, and I could just spend 2 hours doing Minecraft, I absolutely would. So I take offense to your statement that delivered in your swarmiest way. It may be up my alley, but not yours.
I stand by my statement. So the only way to prove me wrong is for you to go out to the cinema, watch it, and then come back and show me.
Did you see it though?
Right. To give a little bit of a preview for next week, we have to do our summer top 10
Oh, that's right.
blockbusters.
The 3rd year in a row.
That's right.
We'll never forget Yeah, and each year we have a great story, right?
Yeah.
Like the first year, it was you choosing 9 instead of 10
Yeah.
and still beating me. Last year it was the
Garfield.
infamous Garfield at number
At number 2.
at number 2. I mean, that story gets better with time just because the more you think about it. But I had my own, and you still beat me. The less funny part of this is that in each of these years, you've beat me, despite putting Garfield at number 2. So yeah, I think in 2 weeks we should definitely do our blockbuster roundup, right?
Yeah, we have to because official summer season starts on the 1st of May.
Yeah. So if you're keeping track at home, for the past 2 years, Pete has defeated Ethan. I've lost 2 years in a row, despite some drama on Pete's side, but I have been unable to take advantage of those missteps. I think both years have been relatively close, as I recall. Like they're both kind of competitive. But this year, let's take a look and let's do our list then next week, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So that is this week's episode. Stream or skip. Your friends and neighbors, Apple TV Plus, must subscribe. MobLand, Paramount Plus, must subscribe. Next week, I've got Dope Thief, Apple TV Plus. Pete's got Running Point on Netflix. Let's see what we can do, huh?
Yeah, I'm excited.
All right, Pete, before we salute and take off for the weekend, can you read our social media, YouTube credits and all that other jazz so that people can like, ring, comment?
Absolutely. Tweet at us at F&S Podcast. DM us on Instagram at Films and Stuff Podcast. But as always, the best thing you can do, like this video, leave a comment below, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell.
Could not have said it better myself. Pete, thank you. As always, listeners, thanks for joining in. We shall see you next week, next episode, Films and Stuff Podcast. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Ethan. Thanks, everyone.
Bye now.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Films and Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are downloaded. Films and Stuff. There is no substitute.